via telephone should be a rising star in Jewish music. He released a music video, ladies and gentlemen, not even 3 days ago. And right now, YouTube is scheduling him at 28,434 views. Please welcome my friend, Mordechai Shapiro.
Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem Shalom. Mordy, 28,000 hits.
Crazy.
28,000 hits. You released this not even 3 full days ago.
It's unbelievable. It's mamish, such siyata d'shmaya, you know?
I got to tell you, dude, you amaze me. I think the first time I heard about you was back in July of 2015. Sruli Meyer sent me a cover you did of a Nochi Krohn song.
Sure.
And I'm like, I know this song, Vinny Casey, from Nochi Krohn Band. You know, I was like, but who is this guy? I've never heard him. And your voice resonated. And of course, we did the typical YouTube search, and I came up with this clip of you singing with Yaakov Shweki as a kid.
Sure, the good old days.
So, and if, upon further searching, we see that you're a former Miami alumni. So Mordy, where did this whole journey start?
Well, it started professionally, I guess, when I was in Miami. It started when I just turned 8. My brother was 10. Maybe I was even 7. Yerachmiel was a little hesitant if he should take me into the choir. I was very young, but he took my brother, who was 9 or 10 at the time, and said, you know what, I'll take Mordechai as well. And I'm hoping he didn't regret that, because I had a great experience in the choir. I was there for 6 years, and I always knew that I wanted to sing. You know, I tell people, I always joke with people that my yearbook, if you look at my yearbook, my 8th grade yearbook, there's like a joke page where everybody's going to be in 20 years. So mine was, on stage as a Jewish singer.
Interesting.
So it was always part of my plan. How, where, what, it was going to happen. I wasn't sure, but Baruch Hashem, everything's kind of fitting into place. And from
so, just for musical trivia, you joined Miami in 1997. What albums were you featured on?
My first album was Stand Up.
Wow. So wow. I remember that.
Stand up. Yes,
I remember them selling stand-up in Montreal after one of their only It seems like in my whole childhood, there was only like 2 Miami Boys Choir concerts in Montreal.
I was there.
You were there, and I believe Yitzy Spinner was there too at one point. Yeah.
As an adult, or when he was in the choir?
No, when he was actually in the choir. That's how long. That's how long ago it was. But yeah, wow. I do remember the days of stand-up. So Mordy, you started singing as a child. Is there something?
I took a little break in my teenage years. I mean, I was singing, obviously not professionally, and then when my adult voice came back, started training, started taking it a little bit more seriously, and then,
So tell me, Mordy, how does one train? What are some of the exercises you do to get your voice in shape?
So I've trained with 3 teachers. When I was living in Israel, I actually made Aliyah a bunch of years ago with my wife and kids. Fun fact, Nefesh B'Nefesh, the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, we were hoping to settle down in Erev Succos, believe it or not. We had a very strong passion to be there, and I was trying to pursue music, but it was very difficult. As an American, my Hebrew was kacha, wasn't great. I was dabbling in small bar mitzvahs, wedding here and there, but it just wasn't really going. So after a little over 3 years, we decided to move back, make Yeridah. But when I was in Israel, I started training with a teacher there, Moshe Burke.
Okay.
He was very focused on breathing exercises. And my next teacher, Herschel Einhorn, who coaches a lot of the big singers today, had a little bit of a different technique. I mean, I've a lot of different exercises. Some of them I do. I'm sure you've heard that one before. A lot of singers do that.
I have.
I have exercises like stuff like that.
Okay.
Different scales, putting me in the zone. Any aspiring singer that wants to take themselves seriously absolutely needs training.
I would say the fact that you've sampled, let's say, three vocal coaches, you probably have more of an idea of why they're telling you to do it and what works for you, that you've had 3 different stylings and how they affect your voice, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. It's amazing to reflect after my first coach. See, when they're teaching you in the moment, you don't always really know where they're getting at and what they have in mind for you, and sometimes you even think they're crazy, and they position your body, and sometimes you even do physical exercises, jumping jacks, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, at the snap of a finger, it kind of falls into place, obviously, as I put my effort into it, and then you just smile and say, wow, I can't believe that all just came together. And yeah, the 3 different techniques was also very, very interesting, and I actually still do exercises from all 3 of my coaches. I still train now by William Riley, but I still do Einhorn's exercises, and I still do a little bit of Burke's exercises as well.
I'm sure some are to give your voice more depth. Some are to propel your voice, further in the crowd. Obviously, you don't want to scream. You just want to make sure your voice can be heard further away and stuff like that. Yossi Shapiro on Facebook is sending regards and saying how much he loves your album.
Thank you, Yossi. Yossi, I miss you in Queens.
We also have Usher Shiner from Erev Succos. He wants to know, what was the rush? Not that he's complaining, but he said that your two albums were mamish released back-to-back, less than a year apart. What was the idea behind that, Mordy?
Hold on, let me think, because it could be that he didn't get the album until it was out for a couple of months. So my first album came out Purim time, 2016. My second album came out a month ago. So it was almost a year and a half.
Right.
And I don't know, I felt like it was time. I mean, Baruch Hashem, a first album is always it's a big step for any singer. And the fact that I had the success of Schar Mitzvah was just beyond incredible. Siyata D'Shmaya, beyond belief.
I don't even know if you know the half of it, Mordy.
Tell me.
I actually had Schar Mitzvah on hold for a singer I was working with.
Get out of here.
I had the Schar Mitzvah on hold for Shlomo Simcha, and I remember that Eli Schwab called me up and he said that your producer called him that Mordechai Shapiro wants a song. Are we ready to commit because we put it on hold? And Shlomo Simcha said at the time that financially just wasn't working out. And he's like, look, if it's not from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if it doesn't work out right at this minute, and they have somebody else, give it to them. So I have a shtickle bone to pick with you.
Let me know how much I owe you.
But that song, if you had to sum up, the biggest song of your career, obviously before the second album, Schar Mitzvah would be it, wouldn't it?
Yes, Schar Mitzvah was, it took off beyond, I think anybody's expectations, and mostly my own. I wanted to be very, very practical. On my first album, I didn't expect to sell. Baruch Hashem, we did sell. I did not expect to sell. I did not expect to have any hit songs. I was just trying to do my stylist, trying to put out good stuff. Fun, positive, good energy, good vibes, and never in a million years could you expect on a first album for a track to take off the way it did. So I'm so grateful. People ask me, do you ever get sick of this song, Schar Mitzvah?
Right.
It's all day, you're singing it everywhere you go, and I say never ever, Chas v'shalom. I can never ever take for granted, the success that it's brought me. So I'm happy, and it's my pleasure to sing it as often as I can.
Mordechai Shapiro joining us live via telephone, discussing his brand new album, Machar. I got to tell you, Mordy, it's kind of like asking MBD if he ever gets tired of singing someday, It just doesn't happen.
Right, exactly.
So your first...
I'm curious what his answer is to that.
Well, next time we speak to him, we'll ask him. You had a lot of different composers on your first album, though you yourself only composed one song that was recorded on your first album. The second album, however, you composed alongside Yitzy, I would say almost half the album, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, correct. So the first album, I think it's safe to say I was pretty insecure with my capabilities. I wasn't even sure if I knew that I dabbled. Everybody writes. I can tell you, and you're in the business, I'm sure you get hundreds of demos weekly from Bachrim, from married guys. Everybody just tries to write. Some are good, some are not as good. I can tell you, for this album, Machar, I listened to maybe over 1,000 songs.
Wow.
Going through, because I always like to listen, and people always appreciate it. People send me a lot of tracks. Always listen. I always respond because, I appreciate people reaching out.
Right.
But on the first album, I just didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know if I had what it took. I experimented with one song, and even that song didn't really go anywhere. So, Lo Alecha was a nice comes-it song, but, it didn't really go places. Nevertheless, I still felt that I had what it took to put my own stuff into it. Part of the reason why I was working with Yitzy was because everybody knows Yitzy is known as a hit machine.
Right.
Obviously is. And my cheshbon was, whether he's writing it or not, his influence, his, the way that he sees a song, whether he wrote it or not, will hopefully have that hit potential. And so, that's why I wanted to work with Yitzy. And, he gave me the confidence. He believed in me, and I believed in myself to start writing more, and hopefully people are appreciating it.
Well, if you didn't see the response from Machar when you released that as a single and music video, people are loving it. I'm surprised I didn't think about you and Yitzy together, because the two of you, and I know Yitzy a long time, love doing these trills and thrills, the harmonies, and I was like, wow, why wouldn't I have put these two together? You guys have a very similar mind frame with where you want to take Jewish music.
It's absolutely true. Yitzy, I absolutely love his voice. And the truth is, Yitzy wrote a couple songs on my last album. I'm trying to think of when I was growing up, a bunch of years back, there was always this guest singer, and I wasn't a hawker in Jewish music.
Right.
I was in Miami Voice Choir, but I wasn't I never looked at booklets. It wasn't really my thing. So, Michal Brzezinski's album. And then there's I'm trying to think, I'm thinking of Shlomi Gertner's album.
Okay.
Ha-Shomayim. You know that song?
Yes, I do.
So I absolutely love that song. And then there's this guest singer that comes on, and until like maybe a year ago, I had no idea who that was.
You serious?
I had no clue. I heard Yitzy Waldner's a composer. He wrote Eishes Chayil, he wrote Mehera, Eitre Code more recently. I didn't know he could sing like that. So, when I sat with him on my first album, I was blown away by his vocals, let alone his composing ability. But,
And people also don't know, he's very reluctant to put down vocals on songs. You literally have to twist his arm sometimes.
Yes, indeed. True. But we wrote, the track that he did with me was Mi Adir, which we wrote together. Mm-hmm. It's also a funny fact when people write, that they wrote songs together, because they know a lot of artists, a lot of singers like to put their name on tracks that they had some input on, whether they actually co-wrote it or whether they just maybe, changed the chords or changed the note.
Oh, yeah, instead of going up, let's go down, yes.
Let's go down, and now I can put my name on the composition. So, I assure you and everybody listening that, and Yitzy can attest, that we absolutely co-wrote all the songs that we say we co-wrote, together, which was an absolute blast. And he was excited to sing along on Mi Adir.
Well, I was excited to hear his voices. I almost couldn't differentiate at times, because when you sing very softly, you guys have a similar tone to your voice.
Right.
Mordechai Shapiro with his via telephone talking about his brand new album Machar. Mordy, a lot of singers would be very reluctant to keep just one arranger on the album. And everybody's about, let me go to Damari, and let me go to Yoni Aliyev, and let me go to this, let me go to that. Whose decision was it, and what is your feeling? Are you happy with the fact that you used just one arranger for the entire album?
So I'm ecstatic, Abain. I mean, listen, there are certain arrangements that I knew as we were building songs that were going to be for Jan. Mm-hmm. Machar, I said, is going to be for Jan. Lecha, I knew was probably going to be for Jan. And then there were a couple other songs that I knew I could send to Jan.
Brachos was going to be for Jan, yeah.
Brachos, Lee, the major pop songs. Mm-hmm. I wanted Jan. At some point after I gave him references and ideas for what I had in mind, because I'm very reference oriented.
Right.
I know also a lot of singers, they just, they get a rough draft from Yitzy Waldner or whoever it is, Baruch Levine, and they send it to Jan or Uri Damari, and they say, make it cool,
Yeah, surprise me.
Make it disco, make it fun, make it geschmack. So that's not my style. My style is, I know very much what I want. Every song had a specific genre and reference that I had in mind, and as I shared every individual song with him, mm-hmm. he was knocking them out of the park. I mean, when I was getting back these demos from him, the first drafts, I was jumping in my car, smiling, cheek to cheek, and I said, all right, let's give him another one. And I got back another track, and I was blown away. I would call him up, laugh, when you're just so excited, you can't stop smiling and giggling about something. He was sending me these tracks, Smile, with the guitar in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was blown away. So I sent him another and another, and the biggest surprise was really the ballad. I mean, I should say this publicly, that people never considered Jan to be a ballad guy, but listen to my ballads, and hopefully you'll appreciate them and be blown away as much as I was.
For me, the big surprise was track 9, Niggin Simcha. I promised you when I heard this song, before I looked at the book, I was like, oh, this must have been a Mendy Hershkowitz, Sonic Duo, or a Yerli Dickman, big orchestra piece. And I'm looking at the book, it says Jan Freder. I was like, what?
That song came later in the arrangement plan. And as I continued getting back, as I said, such incredible arrangement, I said, I'm going to send you a song, not something you're used to. I mean, I know Jan does a lot of engineering on Hasidic weddings, Jewish weddings.
Right.
So he's not completely
clueless, right? He's not
lost from the Freilich Tam or that type of music. But I knew this was definitely not his cup of tea. This is not his thing, his forte, if you will. But I said, listen to this niggin, and let me know what you have in mind. And this one actually is maybe the only song that I did not have a specific reference in mind. And I said, tell me your thoughts.
Really?
Tell me your thoughts.
Wow.
And trying to think if the Disney idea came from me. I think it came from him. And he said, listen to this song. He sent me this really cool song that was sung by another singer that I don't know if it ever went out. I don't know if Shim Kramer. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay.
But he had this track that blew me away. And Jan said, I'm thinking of this Disney idea. I thought it was amazing. I said, go for it. We tweaked it a little bit here and there. And, I didn't necessarily want it to be just a Hasidic Freilich niggin. I wanted it to be something where the song starts and you're just like, wow, what is this a Disney movie? What is going on here?
Right.
You know?
I think you did just that, I got to tell you. It kind of transports you to somewhere else, and you're trying to figure out what exactly is going on.
Right.
And I was surprised, for your second album, you have all these pumping songs, and over here you're taking a somewhat well-known niggin and you're kind of revisioning it, resetting it. What was the reason behind that? What was your connection to this specific niggin that you were like, I have to record this niggin?
So I think it may have been my brother or one of my good friends that heard this niggin on a Vishnitzer album years ago, and it wasn't a tremendously huge niggin. I'm sure in Vishnitz they all know it, but in the Hasidic world at large, a lot of Hasidim know it. Some of them say they kind of remember it from their youth. It wasn't a massive Hasidic niggin, but we started singing it. I was actually be close to a Rav Avram Brandwein when I was living in Eretz Yisrael. He was a makubal and a big tzaddik who lived in the old city, and we used to jam. Chaim David, you remember Chaim David?
Sure, I know Chaim David.
Chaim David lives in the old city, and he was part of our chevra there. And he would bring his guitar, and we had a violin, sometimes bongos, and every Friday we would jam. So we kind of introduced this niggin to our chevra over there with the Rav, which at the end of the song, I'm sure you heard, and a lot of people have been asking me, what do you say at the end of the niggin? I can't make out those words, and I say for my Rebbe. I dedicated the song to my Rebbe because we sang this song pretty much weekly at all sudas that we had, all events that we had with him. We used to sing this song, and it became very special to him, very special to us. And he was nifter a couple of years ago, and I wanted to put it on my first album, but for whatever reason,
didn't work out.
They felt like I should just focus on new stuff. My producers, my first album, Zamist and Shirley Meyer, and I saved it for my second album. Yitzy Waldner, who produced my second album, I introduced the idea to him, and he was emotional just hearing my connection to the song, and he said, "You have to do it." Yeah.
Mordy, did he know the niggin?
He was familiar with it, but he did not know it well.
Ah, okay, good.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Yoeli Polchik and Zemiris Choir did a phenomenal job also. I'm looking at the booklet. I know that it's like background vocals by Mordy, background vocals by Mordy, background. Finally, song, a choir, not Mordy.
So I'm a big, as you can see, I'm a big background vocals guy. Baruch Hashem, I take pride in the fact that that I'm musical and that I'm good with harmonies and I can knock out background vocals pretty quickly. And I don't know, there's a certain flavor that I like to put on my tracks that I don't always trust in other choirs or people that do background vocals. So I like to do them myself. This niggin I felt needed a little bit more of that Hasidic sound. Yoeli is so funny. He's such a perfectionist. Tell me about it. Nut of a perfectionist when it comes to background vocals. I was like, just do it, because we were coming to the end and I wanted to get it out because I didn't want to miss the Rosh Hashanah Sukkot, release time, because after Sukkot, the days get darker and life is less exciting, if you will. So I wanted to make sure to get it out. And this was like the last song that needed background vocals. He said, I got to study it. I said, just get in the studio and get it done. And finally, after a week of him studying the track, he got in the studio and he blew me away with his background vocals.
I got to tell you, you've been blowing me away every time I listen to the songs. Your background vocals, you think background vocals. Who was it? I spoke to Yossi Green. We interviewed Yossi Green a few weeks ago, and he said there's supporting vocals and there's background vocals, two separate things. And he's right. Background vocals, you can infuse the song with way more energy. Supporting is just, like light and flowery. So I
100%.
I definitely see the difference.
There are some songs where you're listening to a chorus and you're thinking, does it need maybe some more guitar runs? Does it need some more percussion? Does it need some brass lines? And then when you come up with, Lecha, Lecha, Gdula, if you listen to the background vocals, excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather, but as you can hear, Baruch Hashem, and I have a job tonight, but hopefully I'll be okay. But, if you listen to the background vocals in Lecha, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, so it fills up the entire chorus, and after we heard that, and I filled it up with a couple of harmony lines, he said we don't need any other instruments.
That's true. The voice is its own instrument. Mordy, speaking of this, you're a very video affluent guy. Maybe we should consider, putting you in the studio and showing how one of the songs in your albums are built, line by line, instrument by instrument.
That's cool. That actually sounds like a cool idea. I feel like I wish I was more structured and organized. If I was like Yoeli, and he would show people how he listens and how he builds and how he takes notes and how he tries to mesh, because I told him I wanted a Hasidic sound, but I'm not a Hasidic type of singer. I'm more of a pop singer, so he wanted to blend the two together, which he did so beautifully. I don't always plan out my background vocals as much.
No, probably it comes into your head and you're like, what would sound good here? And you just like sing it out.
Right. I'll listen to the track as I'm on my way to the studio. Not that I don't take them seriously. Obviously, I want to love all my background vocal lines.
Right.
And if there's something I don't like, then we'll nix it. But
you're the type of guy to walk in and say, Jan, can you play back that harmony I did yesterday? I don't remember what I did. Let me see if I can fix it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, not quite, because once you do background vocals, as you know, you record it 100 times,
right. And then it's stuck.
La 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 la. Okay, again. La 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 la. Okay, again. So kind of just it gets into your brain pretty quickly, but yeah, that sounds like a good idea actually.
Mordechai Shapiro joining us live via telephone, talking about his brand new album Machar, available now through Mostly Music, Aderet Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, CD Baby, MordechaiShapiro.com, wherever Jewish music is sold. This is Mordy's second album. Of course, everybody knows his first album and how well it's been doing. First album had hits like Schar Mitzvah, Ki Malach, of which we all loved, Chizku, Ivdu, Hayom, and the slow songs too. But of course, I'm talking about I was a big fan of Umulaich, I got to tell you.
Thank you.
New album, ladies and gentlemen. The single which was released, which I didn't necessarily agree with you about this, by the way. Releasing a single titled Machar, and then 2 months later saying, it's the title track of my new album. Interesting. I don't know if I would have done it like that. I'm not a big...
Say again. Releasing my Machar way before the album came out?
Releasing your Machar and then saying that's the title track of the album.
So what would you have done?
I would have probably released another song. I'm not a major fan of releasing title tracks before the album comes out, so to speak.
Interesting. I hear you. I mean, I feel like there are no rules.
No, there are no rules. And because it worked very well for you. Right.
And I think it worked as great as it could have been.
It's like you said, your first producers didn't want you to put Niggin Simcha on. And yet your first album worked out great, and now you had the chance and it worked out even better. So, nobody does know what works.
Right, of course. No, and in retrospect, I think it could have been that they were right, and they were guiding me in the right path on my first album. That I didn't need 10 original tracks, and redoing a song that has already been on album. This Niggin Simcha was on other albums.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't the right time. So it's all about Sheret that I was able to do that on my second album.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, Baruch Hashem, putting out Machar and telling people it was the title track, and I think kind of like you're saying, people really thought like this song is really good. Like, what else is he going to put out?
100%.
That's going to excite us.
Right.
But Baruch Hashem, the feedback was, after Machar, we were just blown away. L'cha could have been your title track. Lee could have been a title track.
100%. Even
Kulam. People are crazy about Kulam. Kulam could have been a title track. So
even Hashem Melech could have been a title track.
Right. And what I know, I just released the music video 3 days ago.
Correct.
And this is very interesting. Right. Another single, which a couple of months ago when I was kind of mapping out the next couple of months, CD release, song release, I was a little weary of putting out, my album, and then right after the album came out Erev Succos, and then right after Succos, basically I released a separate track, nothing to do with my album.
I gotta tell you, Mordy, when the video came out, I went back to the album to see if I missed the song.
Right, and I feel like a lot of people probably did that. You know what? I mean, I partnered up with Yachad, right, the incredible organization who they promote inclusion and for children and people of all ages with special needs, and they wanted, they approached me to do a song and a video to just tell the world about and promote their organization, show the world what they're doing and how amazing it is. And timing wise, I had to just kind of, I don't want to say fit it in because that doesn't sound right, but I had to just kind of work it into my schedule.
100%.
Because I wanted the opportunity and I didn't want to push it off, and they wanted to release it at that time. So and it's actually not a thing so much in amongst Jewish music singers to put out multiple videos in a year.
It's not.
And I'm taking pride in revolutionizing this new era.
Well, Schar Mitzvah, I'm looking at your YouTube page now. Schar Mitzvah 1 year ago, 1.4 million views. Machar,
crazy.
2 months ago, 560,000 views. Your sampler, even just the sampler, 14,000 views, and now the brand new single, Biyachad, 28,000 views in 3 days. So that you're definitely doing something different, and you're definitely,
right. It's nerve-wracking. I mean, you whatever. We don't have to go through all the videos, but there's Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of singers in Jewish music. A lot of people are trying to get out there, and getting major hits on YouTube is not always the easiest thing. So I can tell you, putting out every video is very stressful. successful, you want to make sure people will take it and not just say, oh, he was a one-hit guy with Schar Mitzvah and nothing can compare to Schar Mitzvah. So the success of Machar gave me a lot of chizuk, Baruch Hashem. And I'm working on another music video, which you posted in my media. I'm sure you saw. And
yeah, we retweeted it that you were in Hank.
In Hank, right. Hebrew Academy of Nassau County.
And you were with Shimmy Sokol, your video extraordinaire producer over there.
My man. He's actually learning in Eretz Yisrael this year. He is Shana Bet, and which just goes to show you how young he is and how incredibly talented he is.
Yeah, definitely.
For his age. And not just for his age. I mean, his videos are, in my opinion, as good as anybody's. He's just incredible.
Correct.
He flew in the Yeshiva Yitzy Waldner, which I actually went to for my first year in Israel. Let him come in for a couple of days to shoot this new video, Lecha, that we're putting out Mirz Hashem Hanukkah time.
That could be why you were wearing a Hanukkah-themed sweater, right?
Yes, indeed. That is why me and my dance squad, and it's going to be a really, really fun video, different video. And after that, we'll start planning for the next one.
Well, we are definitely looking forward. Mordechai Shapiro with us via telephone, talking about his brand new album, Machar. Mordy, just one quick question, and then we'll let you go. Tzvi Silberstein, you said you had Yitzy Waldner because you loved his voice, and Yitzy, of course, co-composed the songs with you and everything. Where does Tzvi Silberstein fit into the mix?
Tzvi and I became very close friends pretty recently. As I was involved in my album, I'm trying to think how it started. We started talking, I'm trying to think where we met. I don't recall. He introduced me to Donnie Gross, and when I went to Donnie Gross to do Brachos, which was really Tzvi's track. Well, there's a lot of stories. I'm kind of losing track. So let's start. Tzvi's track was Brachos. He asked me to join him on a track called Brachos, which he was going to put on his next album. And he asked me to come do vocals by a guy named Donnie Gross, who has his studio in Flatbush.
That's right.
And last album, I did a lot of my vocals by Tzvi Blumenfeld and by Jan, and I was a little bit hesitant. When I went there and I heard what I was able to accomplish, I was blown away. So then I became, that's basically how Tzvi and how our relationship started. He put out this last joint album, with all the singers, and he was working on, he was working on a new album, which isn't a completely joint album, but he did want me to be a part of one of the songs. So what happened was I fell in love with Brachos so much, also another Yitzy Waldner track, I loved it. So I said, can I put it on my album? And he said, no problem. Another funny story with Tzvi was that he sent me some lyrics that he got from Ari Goldwag, Smile.
Oh, that was, yeah,
and
really?
He said, hey, Mordy, what's up? When you have a second, can you take a shot at writing me a song to these words, Smile? I said, no problem. I'll give it a shot. Called him back like an hour later. Said, listen, Tzvi, I got good news. I wrote you a song, but the bad news is that I got to keep it. So he's like, are you serious? I said, yeah, I love it. And he's like, all right, no problem. So I paid him for the lyric, Ari Goldwag lyric, and that's my song Smile that I wrote. So we became good buddies over the last couple of months. And yeah.
I got to tell you, I love your background vocals on this song the most.
Oh yeah, and it's actually pretty amazing. The feedback that I got on, and there was no real reason I put it as my last track because I like that track as much as I do any of the others.
Right.
I guess it was just I felt like since I was doing it with Tzvi and he's probably putting it on his album, I kind of viewed it as a bonus track. So it was like my 10 plus 1 kind of track. That's why it was 11. And the amount of feedback that I'm getting, people tell me it's their favorite song, is unbelievable. I mean, for a last track on the album to be... yeah,
that means that they actually had to listen to every other track to get there.
Right. So that was great to hear.
Okay, Mordy. Well, I'm going to wish you Hatzlacha Rabbah. I'd like to thank you for your time. We are looking forward to seeing many great things from you. Before we let you go, I've played many tracks over the weeks. One of the ones I did not play is Hashem Melech. So we're going to play you out with Hashem Melech. Any little insight you can give us to the song?
So in general, and I'm not going to go on a rant right now because I tend to do that sometimes. Okay. I like to put out music with messages. People told me, wow, you have a lot of English music on this album.
You do, yes.
And I said, you know what? Obviously, I would love for my music to take off in Erev Succos, and I heard Machar is doing, and Lecha now are doing great on the radios in Erev Succos, and I have my PR guy, Kobe Sella, who's helping me out over there.
Best guy to use, yeah.
Yeah, Kobe's the man. So... But in New York, the people that are listening to music, I have some songs that don't have such a direct message. I mean, they're not, Afachta Mispedi obviously has a nice message, but it's from Mizmor Shir. The words rhyme. It's a nice song. It's fun. The words are catchy, but it's not a direct message that you can listen to and walk away with. And I wanted to have, a bunch of songs where I can think about a message I want to give over to the world and put it out there, especially in English because we're in America and a lot of people don't a lot of people don't understand Hebrew and cannot always connect to messages in Hebrew as easy,
English is our first language. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Exactly. So I put out this song about, a pretty general story that many can connect to about a boy who makes it big as an entrepreneur and starts to think that all his success is thanks to him. And we're doing.
Right.
I, as a singer, always need to remember that everything I have is from Hashem, and I never ever want to forget that. And no matter whether you're a singer or a business guy or a teacher or whatever you do, that message is ever so important. Yashem Lamelech, that Hashem is always the one that's, in charge, guiding us, giving us everything we have, thanks to Him. So I thought it was a nice message to share.
It's beautiful. Thank you very much, Mordy. Brand new album, Machar, in stores now. Have a great winter, Mordy. Stay warm.
Thank you, Yossi. Have a good one.
Take
Talk
care.
to you soon.
You too.